It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantatrax TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine, indeed. Welcome back to the show where we discuss everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm. I'm your host, Brian Cameron. With me, as always, is my colleague, Mr. Paul Naylor.
Hello, Bri. I know you've been struggling these last couple of weeks. Hope you're feeling a bit better, mate.
Yeah, we're soldiering on. Illness took me away last weekend, but we're back this week. We're just about alive. You can see the bags under my eyes. But there's a lot of Star Wars news to discuss, Paul.
There is. And I just apologise. This plant behind me does make me look a little bit like Tina Turner from Beyond the Thunderdome. The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Harrison Ford, obviously on the news trail for his new film, Captain America. And he's been asked about the Dial of Destiny. And we'll be hearing what he's had to say about that.
Well, I liked it anyway. Sideshow Collectables have got another excellent figure out. Well, it's a figure and a creature. It's the Sandtrooper Sergeant and Dewback by Hot Toys. So that's something to...
Hoffman in his new role with the company.
And Koo Stark, long time associated with Star Wars back in the day, never actually made it to the screen, but we've all seen her behind the scenes, is now suing.
We've all seen her Playboys, what you're trying to say there.
We've seen that too. But we're now seeing her sue Lucasfilm for 190 million.
I thought you were going to say we've all seen her behind. Oh dear. Talking about things that have grown that are for grown-ups, Sigourney Weaver has been talking about Grogu, and he's grown up a little bit, perhaps old enough to buy that magazine in the newsagents.
He can always reach it with the Force. Sophie Thatcher, she'll be able to reach the magazine with a bionic arm that will extend up to the top shelf. She's on about returning as Drash. She would love to do that.
Adidas, or Adidas, however you want to pronounce it, presented their Mandalorian collection. We'll be checking out some of the items from that.
And then an old TV interview featuring Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker's been doing the rounds in the last week or so. It's quite cute, and it's sort of it's just nice to see something retro on the show.
Yep. And last but not least, on the news front, we'll be covering everything Marvel coming out in April, and checking out the comics that we've got in store just as his celebration hits. And those of you wanting our latest Andor review, check in next week. We're going to have a bumper Andor edition of the show, and we'll have all the updates on Andor's, I guess, episodes 3 and 4 at the minimum we'll be covering.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah, possibly. Might be doing a big show, which works out quite nice because the episodes start to run together. So we'll get a deep dive into it next week. We might even get a trailer this week, Paul. So it could be a big Andor week.
That would be fantastic if that's the case. Is that likely?
As likely as it was last week. The closer it gets to the release of the show, the more likely it gets. is my working theory. I kind of expected something around about the Super Bowl, if not necessarily at the Super Bowl, but you know, a few of them released. Jurassic World released just before the Super Bowl with a teaser, and then more at the Super Bowl. I kind of expected something like that, and we didn't get it. So
Yeah, the whole Jurassic thing looked dreadful, but still, never mind.
You think? I kind of liked it.
Did you? No,
Yeah.
it seemed a bit clunky to me, the dialogue and everything.
Well,
Yeah. Oh,
we'll wait
we'll
and see.
see.
We'll wait and see. Should we head on and check out the first news article of the week?
Let's get this done.
And George Nolfi, the new screenwriter for the new Jedi Order, potentially the last screenwriter. Well, time will tell. He's been discussing his approach to writing the screenplay and the way that he's been thinking about it. And he's been talking about the politics of it, which is always something that people tend to argue about. Is Star Wars political? Is it not? Of course it's political. It's whether you attribute the politics to current day politics or historic politics. And he talks about the Empire's Nazism and Roman Empire type tendencies and amongst other things. I guess your take on it, do you class Star Wars as being quite a political franchise?
I think probably the most political episode, and I'm sure you'd probably agree, would be episode 1.
Yeah.
Where we had so much stuff done in the Senate. And it was, for many people, something that it kind of bogged the film down a little bit. It made it more of a party political broadcast than the prequel that a lot of people thought it was going to be. I mean, there is always underlying politics running throughout, even from back in the day with the original Star Wars. But yeah, I mean, put it this way: with the things that are going on in the real world at the moment, nothing could be any more political than what's going on in the real world.
Yeah, that's true. And he makes an interesting point as well that with it being a space opera, you can raise deep issues without it feeling like you're picking up today's newspaper, you know. So there's lots of themes that you can apply to modern day politics, historical politics, whatever that runs through the veins of Star Wars. I think what causes upset in people is if they think it's judging today's politics when it's still quite raw and current.
Yeah. Well, a lot of Return of the Jedi was sort of like based on George Lucas's interpretation of the Vietnam War, wasn't it? About the untechnologically advanced. Hello there, Chris. The untechnologically advanced beating those with the tech. So yeah, politics has always, like you were hinting at there, politics has always been involved in Star Wars, and they're able to sort of make their point, but do it in a sci-fi stroke fantastical way. So they get away with it.
I think as well, with it being a global franchise, it's different things mean different things to different people in different countries as well.
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley's also been talking about the potential film, Paul, or potential trilogy, whatever it could be. And she makes a great comment that she doesn't know if she's going to be a producer on it. That means she's not, typically. But she's been very much involved in crafting it, which is, I think, can be a positive, but it can also be a negative. I sometimes think the script should be left to the script writer. You know, the director should be allowed to direct and the actor act, and when it crosses a little bit too much, things get messy.
What do you think it hints at, though? Do you think it hints at the fact that she will be allowed to say, well, you know, I don't agree with you on that. Can you do a bit of a rewrite on that?
I don't know if it's to that extent. I'd be amazed if Lucasfilm had gotten themselves to the point where they had to cowtail to an actor in order to get them to take on the role, to give them that kind of control. But having said that, they seem to let J.J. Abrams do a heck of a lot that he wanted to do, and subsequently criticise him to some degree publicly. And the same with Rian Johnson as well. So it's like, do they, as a company, give up too much control potentially? My biggest fear, I guess, is the fact you've got a director who hasn't done much in the way of live action drama, who's really from a background of documentary making, and that concerns me greatly. I don't understand why a franchise like Lucasfilm is having to experiment with directors in that way.
It could bring a slightly different sort of flavour to things. Although, I mean, George, I suppose many of his earlier things had got that documentary style to them anyway. THX stuff. Even American Graffiti felt slightly documentary style. So perhaps that's what they've seen. They've thought, well, you know, let's give it a sort of George Lucas feel, if you like. I think one of the things, and again, not being flippant, but it was quite well documented that Mark Hamill really did have some problems with Ryan Johnson's ideas, and said, you know, I really don't think that's where Luke would have been in his headspace. And I think it would have been nice if that had been listened to and been maybe we would have got a slightly different film than we got. That is the one thing throughout the sequel trilogy that I would have changed, would have been the way they handled Luke. So perhaps the involvement of the actor with the process isn't a bad thing.
I don't know if I'd be singing the fact that I've been heavily involved in something that's been in development hell and gone through countless writers because they can't nail a script.
Well, I'd say
the other point I would make. It's not coming across as being the most professionally operated project at this point in time. It seems to be a little bit in development hell. It almost feels like they're desperate to do something with his character and they don't know what is how it feels.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to go into the cinema on this one with a negative feeling going in.
Really?
Just because of the way it's developed. It's going to feel very much like Solo, where you just think this could be a real disaster, and it turned people away, I think. Also, The Last Jedi had an impact, I think, on the Solo crowd. But I think if you've got something that feels like it's going to be a real mixed bag, it kind of people save their money because it's not cheap going to the cinema anymore. So
No, true. But the path for Rey, I've not got the same investment in what happens to Rey as I had with Luke. So with Rey, they could do whatever they want with. They can make her turn to the dark side. They can give her the same path they gave Luke, where she becomes really grumpy and miserable and just crazy. But that wouldn't bother me, because Rey's character development didn't seem as doesn't bother me anywhere near as much as it did with the original characters.
yeah. I know a lot of people argue the point that, you know, it's given them the time to develop it in a way to make it the best it possibly can be. I think that's very much glass half full kind of mentality. I just think it kind of shows that they do not have a very clear concept of what they want, or they can't articulate what they want because they've had some incredible writers on the project already. And I think it's kind of sad that the state that Star Wars has gotten into, where Lucasfilm seem cornered into using this character but don't know how to use this character in the most functional way. And that's the I think Chris is makes comment. I think the smell of apathy carries. I think it kind of does, and I think there's just this feeling across this film that I can't shake. I don't know what it is.
In fact, I believe that is the title of episode 10, The Smell of Apathy Carries.
It could be. Talking of films that maybe didn't get the reception that they wanted, Harrison Ford has been talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Shit happens is how he describes it. He's still happy he made the movie. You can see how happy he is there in that picture. When people say they didn't like it, he goes all Red Hulk.
Try crossing it.
He's happy he did it. He feels like it treated the character right for the character's age group. I guess in most people's mindset, perhaps they waited 10, 15 years of too late to make it. But, you know, It's one of
What
these
did you
things.
think? Because I mean,
I
you're a
enjoyed
big
it for
Indiana.
what it was. It could have been better, undoubtedly. But what can you do? You know, you've got an actor of that age. There's only certain things you can realistically do with that actor. I really enjoyed the opening sequence where he was de-aged.
Yeah.
And I thought that with the MacGuffin they had in the film, they could have maybe used that to have another couple of sequences where he was de-aged as well.
Yes, possibly.
And really could have used that as the moments to make it the Indiana Jones film and almost have Harrison Ford like a aged bookend throughout the movie, narrating the story almost.
Yeah, could have done that.
And I think that might
I
have
liked it.
sold and been better.
Yeah, I like the film. I watched it again recently, and each time I watch it, I like it more. So that's a good sign.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think Phoebe did a particularly bad job. I think she gets a lot of stick for it. I enjoy it. I think it's a good film.
Absolutely. Next up in the news front, Sideshow Collectables have unveiled their Sandtrooper Sergeant and Dewback by Hot Toys collectibles. Very expensive collectibles for the duo, coming in at 5, 7, 8 and 10 pence. Or you can buy them individually. 213.20 for the Sandtrooper, 377.20 for the Dewback. Or if you want a deluxe Dewback, because you know nobody wants to ride economy on a Dewback, your 401.80. I'm presuming these are converted from dollar prices, and that's why they're weird prices.
Yeah.
But it's going to arrive anytime now to April.
It is rather gorgeous, though. I mean, that's probably the best we've seen of Dewback. Stormtrooper sits on it nicely. It's just a crazy price, isn't it? It really is.
The Hot Toys are very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Chris has pre-ordered his. Did you go for the standard Dewback or a deluxe Dewback? That's the real question. And I love what Hot Toys do. It's just I can't justify spending that kind of money for that kind of product, I don't think.
I think as long as you sort of like go with one sort of run of things and stick with it, then I suppose it becomes affordable because you're just constantly saving for the next one.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, but I've been a Black Series guy. I've been a vintage guy.
He's not sure if he's getting the deluxe or the standard. Oh, let's hope it's the deluxe because you know you could end up disappointed with a standard Dewback.
Send us some pictures in of that, Chris. I'd like to see that. But yeah, it is nice, very nice.
Yeah. Someone who will be riding deluxe and Dewbacks for the rest of his days is Derek Hoffman, who's just become the latest vice president over at Lucasfilm, and he's going to be taking over from Rain Roberts in development, and coming from the background of working on the X-Men franchise across at the opposite side of Disney, and he was an associate producer on X-Men Days of Future Past.
I like that one. I do like that one.
I don't know much about him. He's got a nice background, and I think there is an element of change needed in leadership at Lucasfilm, I feel. So I think it's a positive.
Is he related to Dustin in any way, shape, or form?
Don't believe so.
just a happy coincidence.
Just a happy coincidence.
I mean, he looks very happy to be given the role, doesn't he? As I would be. Look at him.
That when they said we need you to stand for a photograph for our website for our leadership page, and he thought, arms folded.
Can you try and look like a slightly chunky Brad Pitt? Yes, I can do that. That's where I come.
It's I think it's a positive move. That sometimes you just need change, and it's not to criticize anyone in any particular roles. Sometimes a rotation of people is a good thing in any business, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good move. Definitely.
Next up, Paul, should we head to Jabba's court? It is literally a court case to discuss this week. It's exciting.
Jabba's court case.
Jabba's court, and we're doing a court case. Could it be any more genius? So this week I have our most controversial topic to date, Paul. As Koo Stark is suing Lucasfilm, what would you sue them for and why? And this is based off the back of this news story where Prince Andrew's ex Koo Stark is suing Star Wars producers for $190 million. The 68-year-old actress who dated Prince Andrew in the early 1980s, which makes her of legal age, for those keeping count, starred as Carrie Marstrap in the 1970s film A New Hope, but her scenes were cut from the final film. The scenes obviously have since resurfaced online, and the character appeared in various spin-offs over the years, including appearances in comic books. She's filed litigation in a court in LA, claiming that the production company has profited off her likeness. The legal action was originally brought by fellow actor Anthony Forrest, who starred in the film as Fixer in the same scenes.
Now I like how the photograph you've chosen.
I did. I feel like that's going to bring us into the court case because we've now used their very right likeness from the film that they're being exploited over. And they're claiming that their intellectual property rights were exploited when the scenes became available online and on DVD. Now, presumably, both of them were paid for their participation in the film, and both of them signed various release contracts that would allow their likeness to be used on anything potentially possible in future years. So I think this is just one of these typical American lawsuits that are just going to go nowhere. I could be surprised, but I'm willing to guess that where her likeness has been used, if she had negotiated a pay packet for the use of those likeness for those very limited elements that she's been used for, she wouldn't have got paid $190 million.
No. Now that picture there is actually from the Book of Boba Fett, or the Mandalorian. No, it's the Book of Boba Fett, I'm pretty sure, and that's at the Toshi Station. So those are two people playing the roles of
yes,
Koo Stark's character.
So I couldn't use either Anthony Forrest or Koo Stark for legal reasons.
So that's in a way, I mean, that's part of the imitation, the likeness. I mean, the Anthony Forrest likeness that's nothing like him. That's passable as Koo Stark. Yeah, I think not only do I think that it's a bit odd coming at this all these years later, but I suppose what you do is you say 190 million, hoping that they'll settle for $1 million.
Yeah. So that's basically, that is the basis of this week's Jabba's Court, and the question that I have then come to, which I think is a brilliant question. What would you sue Lucasfilm for, and why? How much would you ask for?
Okay, so I don't want a lot of money. I need, including food. I saw The Last Jedi 6 times at the cinema, so I'd like to sue Lucasfilm for at least £60 and travel. I'll tell you what, let's make it £100 because I took time out of my busy diary. I've travelled there because I've had to put petrol in the old Ibiza, and I've been 6 times to see The Last Jedi. I would like to sue Lucasfilm for £100 for my visits to The Last Jedi.
Okay. See, Chris has been wiser here. He's obviously gone for the Dr. Evil moment. He's for the $1 million. See, if I was suing them, and why, I would sue them for the way that they've portrayed democracy and how they've undermined the
Here
democracy
we go.
because
Here we go.
the legally elected senator of Naboo stood for chancellor, was duly elected by his peers in Parliament, and subsequently enacted various acts to provide him with additional powers to end a serious conflict threatening the galaxy. And those powers were awarded to him by a senator. And ever since then, Lucasfilm have just released books calling them Nazis and shocking other dictators and all sorts of other kind of things. And it's the same with Jabba. Poor Jabba, who's in charge of the court here, calling him a terrorist and a lawbreaker, and also, all sorts of terrible things when he's operating in that space where everything he's doing is perfectly legal.
And
Terrible.
you're sat there in Tarkin slippers saying things like that, eh?
Yeah. So, I just feel for the emotional distress. For the emotional distress, that's what I'm going for undermining of democracy. That's what I'm going for.
And what do you think would be the appropriate monetary put onto that?
Well, I think I should get $1 for every time they've done it, which I reckon would go well above the 190 million. Yeah, I'm thinking a good quarter billion would do fine.
See, I don't want much.
But I want it in sterling, obviously. We don't want none of this currency exchanges and tax-free.
You don't want credits. No.
Yeah.
Republic credits will do. No, they won't. Okay.
There we go. Chris Davis suggesting that he'd sue them for not using Guy Henry as Tarkin in Andor. Oh, see. Yeah, Tarkin has to be in Andor. But the fact there's a legal case going on probably means he's not going to be. It's terrible.
Yeah.
You need Vader, you need the Emperor, you need Tarkin, and you need Krennic, along with Cyril. All sitting at a table eating marshmallow-coloured crispy pops. How epic would that be if the Emperor was just tucking into cereal with Cyril in the morning?
Grand Moff Tarkin eating blue cereal.
Yeah, that would be the greatest scene ever created for Star Wars. Then, if Lucasfilm delivered that in Andor, then I'll remove my legal action.
Even better. Tarkin eating cereal, wearing slippers.
Yes.
There you go. We sorted it.
Absolutely. That's what you should go for. So you're going to sue them for The Last Jedi and the money you've spent on that.
Yeah, small claims court, no problem.
Yeah, I'm going grander. I'm going for the undermining of democracy in the galaxy far, far away. and Chris in the comics there, he's going to sue them as well. I forget what he said he was going to sue them for. Oh yeah, he's going for $1 million for not having Guy Henry as Tarkin and Andor. So there we go. That's Lucasfilm. That's the threats issued this week in Jabba's court. I don't think you've got too much to worry about by the Koo Stark action. I don't think.
No.
That's just one of these scatterbomb, no win, no fee kind of legal cases. It feels like.
No win, no fee.
Yeah, well, we're all prepared to settle out of court. I think that's the key thing. And that's this week's Jabba's court. Paul, do you think we'll still be on the air this time next week?
No.
On that basis, let's end this week's Jabba's Court. It's obviously a part of Good Morning Tatooine, your weekly recap of all the latest Star Wars news, which live streams every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York, and released on a Wednesday on Fantatracks TV. Paul, if we survive to next week, there'll be more news to cover. But in the meantime, we're going to join our colleagues across the galaxy in Hoth. As there's, I believe, some breaking news.
Breaking news indeed.
Hello, Brian. Hello, Paul. Welcome to this special weather report from Good Morning Hoth. I'm over here in Finse, Norway for the weekend, where fans from all over the world have gathered to celebrate the 46th anniversary of when the cast and crew were over here in Finse filming the Hoth scenes for Empire Strikes Back. They were staying, you can't quite see it, just over that ridge there is where Hotel Finse 1222 is. That's where the cast and crew stayed. Currently there's a ski expedition going on just over that way. Gus Lopez, everybody knows Gus, he's currently on it. There's a few other people going as well. Han Solo Rock, and then there's a few other people going further up the hill, up the glacier where they did the battle scenes. So I did Han Solo Rock last year, so I thought I'd do something different. So I've come up the hill opposite to bring you this special weather report. It's minus 15, a little bit windy but not too bad. Got ski shoes on, poles, wrapped up, it's beautiful. In fact, I'll show you, I'll do you a 360. Gorgeous. If you get a chance, or if you want to come over here next year, search for Hoth Strikes Back. It's a group on Facebook. You get more information. They haven't announced anything for next year, but fingers crossed. It's gone well this year. It was good last year, better this year. Hopefully something will be announced pretty soon for next year. So if you want more information, look for the group on Facebook or keep an eye on Fantha. I'm sure we'll post some news. So yeah, I thought I'd bring you this report. Back to you on Tatooine.
There we go.
Brilliant.
Our
That is
first
brilliant.
cross promotion with our colleagues over at Good Morning Hoth.
I tell you what, he's having the time of his life. Good on you, Paul. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, you've done that. You've been on that trip. haven't
I
you,
went last year, so I went for the 45th anniversary. I did a presentation out there on how they made the film, which was a little bit nerve-wracking because you were there in front of the guy who ran Fox Norway and a lot of the cast and crew, so they could tear apart what was factually incorrect. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's an amazing hotel just to go on holiday at, and the fact it was involved in Star Wars just makes it that little bit extra special. And it's not really like a convention, it's kind of like a gathering of fans.
Yes.
And they do little presentations. Like Gus Lopez was there this year, and he did presentations on collecting memorabilia from the making of The Empire Strikes Back. And so there's always there. The food's incredible. You literally can go there from flying to the main airports in Norway. You can get a train almost direct. Well, it is literally direct to the doorstep of the hotel. Step off a train and you're 10 yards from the hotel, and then you're there for the weekend. There's literally nothing else there but the hotel and a few snow lodges, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and it's incredible. And it's cold, but it's almost so cold you don't feel it. It's
Yeah.
I remember waking up in the morning and a snowplow drove past the window of the bedroom. And then I realised I was on the second floor. And it was
Oh,
just the
wow.
fact that the snow had drifted that much through the
Wow.
night that it was that high up in the building, moving the snow away. It was incredible. And yeah, so check out Father Track's social media, Instagram, X
Yeah.
threads, and you'll see various bits and pieces that Paul's posted. Check out Gus Lopez's socials as well. He's out there and he's posting some great stuff as well.
I've seen
The
stuff.
Northern Lights, just beautiful out there.
Yeah. Yeah. What I always get from it as well in that footage that Paul sent there, and also the pictures that I remember seeing from yourself and Matt and various people that have been, is that as soon as you see a picture of that sky and that snow, and it's not just any snow and any sky, it just feels like the Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Is that how it felt when you were there?
Yeah. You do feel like you've been transported there. The fact that when you
Yeah.
arrive on a train that you're met by snowtroopers as well also adds to the emotion. Chris is asking if there's tauntauns. If you go on Google Maps and you type in Finsa Hotel, you will find me dressed as a tauntaun at the hotel on Google Maps.
It is a sight to behold. I recall seeing it.
But yeah, I've been out there twice. We went a few years ago and then again last year, and I would 100% go back. It's just an amazing place to visit, and take a few days and visit some of Norway as well, because it's a beautiful country. And we took a boat trip the last time out to the fjords as well. Squeezed that in on a day trip out there as well. So. Great opportunity to head out there. And as Paul said in the clip there, if you go on Facebook and you search for Hoth Strikes Back, you'll find a Facebook group of everyone that organises the sort of meet up every year. And hopefully it happens again next year.
I'd love to do it at some point, be it next year or the year after. I would love to go and do that. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's one to add to the list. Definitely.
Yeah.
Back to the news, and there's a little rumour that the Mandalorian Grogu film may be visiting the planet Hoth. We'll throw that one in there. Certainly you saw in the teaser trailer that they released a snow planet. Rumour is it could be Hoth. But anyway, Sigourney Weaver's been talking about the film, and she's been talking about her experience working with Grogu, and she revealed the little bit of news, which I think is very interesting, that Grogu has grown up a little bit.
Now, what do you read into that? Do you think he can speak now?
Well, either that or he's been hitting on Sigourney Weaver. I hope we've evolved to the point where he can speak.
Yeah.
I think that's important to really develop the character.
Yeah. And if it is that he can now speak, would you want him sounding something like Yoda, something totally different? Do you have a voice in your head as to what you think you would like?
I don't want him to sound like Yoda.
No,
because we never heard Yaddle speak, did we? So we don't know that the way that Yoda speaks is something that's tied to his species, or whether it was just Yoda had a speech impediment. So yeah, I would like him to have a very posh English accent.
Hello.
Yes, very much Queen's English. That's what I would like Grogu to sound like.
I'd like him to sound like Bob Hoskins. What are you doing?
Yeah, that would also work. If you remember, didn't the original C-3PO, wasn't he supposed to be like a gruff?
He was like an American car salesman, wasn't he?
Yeah. Chris is asking the question in the chat there whether we're going to be going to Good Morning Scarif next. Quite possibly. I would like to volunteer for that trip if possible.
I've got my hand up. I'm with you.
And he's also suggested he wants him to sound like Peter Cushing.
Chris, I think you've got a Peter Cushing fixation here.
Yeah, he's got super posh and twiddling a moustache. That's what I would like. Yeah,
that would be. Yes,
I just want it to be something unexpected.
Yeah, Grogu's now got a goatee beard. Brilliant.
I don't want it to be a Yoda imitation.
No. But I think as soon as he has got some sort of voice, it'll feel a bit weird to begin with.
Yes, yeah. You know, the Mandalorian's going to take off his helmet, and then Grogu's going to say something.
Ta-ta.
Put it back on. He's going to
get in trouble.
He's gonna say, "Oh, you're in all the franchises." That's what he's gonna say.
You're in everything. They go, oh look, it's Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah. So if Grogu's grown up, we already have, in the form of Sophie Thatcher, a very grown-up adult, and she's also looking to return to the Star Wars franchise. She's very much would like to return as her character Drash from the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. It was a badly received TV show, and the group of characters that she was part of were very much mocked as the Power Rangers. So,
Yeah.
as lovely a person as I'm sure she is, and as talented an actress as she is, the likelihood of her reappearing, I would think, would be slim.
Controversially, I quite like the Book of Boba Fett overall. I know. I wasn't a massive fan of the colourful scooters, bearing in mind water was stupidly expensive, so therefore, how did they clean the scooters? I also think it's brilliant. You got somebody with a bionic arm and a real hand. That's genius. But if the character was to reappear, I'd have no major problems with that. Maybe not on a scooter. Maybe she's graduated to a land speeder.
I just feel like the character never got that much to do. If it was to reappear, it's going to be a background character because Boba Fett's reappearing.
Yeah, I'd like to see some sort of spin-off of what was the guy played by Timothy Oliphant? You know what I mean, the guy, the marshal.
Oh yes,
So,
yeah.
I think he's somebody put Chris put his name up. But you know that was always sort of a way they could have gone with another series. It probably wouldn't have cost them quite too much money to have had the marshal and the Weequay barman. You could have had Sophie doing her bit. That would have been quite an interesting way to go with things. But yeah,
Timothy Oliphant
yeah, that's
as Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth. I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, great action figure as well. Great Black Series figure. But yeah, I'd like to see more adventures on Tatooine. We just don't go to there anywhere near enough, do we?
No, but we don't see enough sand planets in Star Wars. Something that has come too late, I think, is from Adidas and their new Mandalorian collection. It's a range of kids' clothes, backpacks, caps, shorts, hoodies, trainers, socks, excuse me as I yawn, t-shirts and jogging bottoms to fans everywhere. That's almost like a great acting there to get the yawn in, because this is such a dull collection.
It is. I mean, it looks like it's been designed in about 5 minutes. Yeah, it's a bit naff, if I'm honest.
This is kind of like your $5 stuff that you get at the end of the aisle in Asda or George or Walmart if you're in America.
Yeah. I mean, look at that Grogu. I mean, that is
it's just cheap and awful. It's not what I expected from Adidas.
If they'd like to send me some free
as
samples,
Chris says, it's a year too late.
Yeah. I'll be happy to wear some free samples for them if they want. So send it through to my address at
Jonathan just there. Cobb Vanth was Timothy Oliphant that played him.
That's right.
Great actor and great role, great character.
Really good character. Probably really held that show together. Yeah.
And as Chris says, you could really get a push in items in hand for the shows. You do this with action figures. Who cares at this point? And this is the problem, I think, that you've got to have your product development cycle sync with your product releases.
Yeah.
And when you don't, it just doesn't work. And when it arrives late like this, it has like a naffness to it. It feels wrong. And even if they'd held it back and released it this time next year in the lead up to the film, it would have made more sense.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. All
It
the
just
timing.
feels like someone's paid a lot of money for a product license and they're just out with the product cycle window.
Yeah.
And they're just throwing
Timing,
product out there. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
talking about resurfacing old content. uh, the fantastic Facebook page, the Star Wars Phenomenon in Britain archive, has been throwing out the occasional little nugget of greatness, and they posted just recently a little 1978 interview with Auntie Daniels and Kenny Baker, and we can kind of check that out now.
Drop me in, feet into the feet of the robot. I'm sitting in a safety seat, a child's safety seat, with a harness. And I'm in there, that's it.
Do you control the movements of our...
Yes, they put the lid on, and then I'm in there, right? Then I'm like this, no room to go anywhere. Then I just switch the little switch there, which starts the motors going. Another little switch, and the lights all start to activate.
Do you control
Then I roll it.
the things that switch into the computer systems? Do you control those
Yes,
as well?
yes, from the
Oh,
inside.
you do it all? And,
Yes.
how do you get into yours, Anthony?
Well, I arrive on the set looking very demure in sort of black leotard and tights, and then I think someone with a kind of sort of rubber corset, and then things on my elbows and knees. Then
A rubber corset?
That's the middle bit.
Yeah.
Yes, it's covered in wires. And then the sort of trousers go on, which are plastic, and then the legs slide up, which is very difficult because they've got to go on backwards, then turn around and up. Then the feet, then my real shoes go on, then the feet of the machine go on. And then the chest goes on, two pieces forward and sideways like that. Then the neck slots in, then the arms go up, then the hands go on either side, then the head goes on in two pieces, by which time I've had enough.
Then they say tea break.
Yeah, they say, well, 3PO says, because he speaks English, how nervous he is all the way through. And when somebody is as honest as that and admits that he's terrified by events all around him, you can't help but care about him. And through the noises, R2-D2 also has the same reaction.
But yet R2-D2 always seems to be able to cope, doesn't he?
Well, he thinks he's coping. I just go off and do my own thing.
Yeah.
And it happens anyway.
And he always breaks the rules, and that worries 3PO a lot.
So, Paul, that was a lovely little clip from 1978 of Auntie Daniels and Kenny Baker getting on for a start.
Yeah, yes,
I know.
fighting. That's the sad thing, isn't it? I mean, what could have been? And interviewed there by the late great Anthony Wilson as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's
Mark Newbill's appeared in the comments here over on Facebook.
Oh,
Evening, guys. Apologies, he was just a guest in the Talking Tauntauns podcast. So what's happening? We've had real live Tauntauns because we crossed live across to Good Morning Hoth to get the weather report. You could have seen the Tauntauns running in the snows of Finsta in the background there. We've also discussed suing Lucasfilm and for various sums of money. Lots of other controversial comments have been made. But nobody there to fact check us. We've been telling all sorts of lies. You know,
we'll just start again. Let's start again for Mark.
Let's start again. You're gonna have to watch it back, Mark. You're gonna have to watch it back and then cringe as you watch us discuss bringing legal action against Lucasfilm.
This could be the last episode, Mark.
Could be. I'm launching a $250 million lawsuit for undermining democracy. You miss so much, Chris. You can't tune in late. But the great thing, you can go on YouTube and you can watch it back. That's yeah. And we talked Tarkin as well, and his slippers.
We've definitely discussed Tarkin. Definitely.
But he's here just in time for the last news item of the week, Paul.
Yes.
Which is Marvel Comics and solicitations for April. Things are kind of coming a little bit to an end in a few places here. It kind of feels a little bit stagnant in the comics. But things are going to kick off, I think, again in May with some new issue ones and some new series starting. So we'll have a quick look at what's coming in April. But we've got the second issue of Jedi Knights from Mark Guggenheim. Lovely looking Yoda on the cover there.
Yeah, cool.
And of course, Kenner's action figure that never was, Arthur Prime, standing there in the background. we've got the legacy of Vader, which has already seen him going back to Tatooine and killing Watto, controversial as that was. And in issue 3, you've got Kylo Ren, who's been imprisoned by the ruthless Gardulla the Hat, which again, it just shows you that they're calling him ruthless, implying that he's bad, but he's working in Hutt space completely within the law. And so, yeah, disappointing once again from Marvel Comics, part of the Disney group. So, they're all going to be getting the legal action, it appears. And Star Wars The High Republic's fast approaching its climax. And we have Fear of the Jedi issue 3 from Cavan Scott coming at us in April. And the long-awaited Rise of Skywalker adaptation, and it is an adaptation, not an improvement, Paul, from Jodie Hauser, artist Will Sliney there, with actually a very nice cover there by Phil Noto of 3 characters who were really not given enough to do, I think, in the final film. Would it be safe to say?
Definitely safe to say.
And that, Paul, brings us to the glorious conclusion of potentially the last ever Good Morning Tatooine.
No, never say that.
Yeah, it is. Mark's chiming in there. It is a beautiful Noto cover. I think that's one of the highlights of that series, is the covers that we're getting from them. Where can people find content? That's the next question we should be asking.
Beautifully done, sir. Beautifully done.
Beautifully done. So you can go to fantatracks.com, where you'll get all your Star Wars news in a single file, everything on the news front, from films, TV, collecting, fashion, gaming, literature, music and art. Lots of interviews, event coverage, podcasts and reviews. And you'll also find us on social media, Paul.
We've got social media galore. We've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got Threads, we've got X and TikTok, amongst others.
And of course, you've got Fantatracks Radio. Go to your podcatcher of choice, type in Fantatracks Radio, you'll find us. There is a new episode of Making Tracks out on Tuesday, and a special episode from the Festival of the Force with Michael Carter and Paul Blake coming out Friday at 7 p.m. Any progress on Start Your Engines, Paul?
Yes, I'm meeting with Mark at some point this week, and we are doing a show based on airspeeders, snow speeders, and the like.
Oh, very nice. Ties in beautifully to the Hoth theme.
Exactly.
And Fantatracks TV, obviously we're live streaming every Sunday with Good Morning Tatooine. We have Jabba's Court included in this week's fantastic episode. And there will be Star Wars live streaming gaming very soon, very soon. I keep saying it, but it's going to happen as soon as I feel a little bit better and I'm not falling asleep. And Mark is chiming in there that you're recording this week, Paul.
Yes, I just said that. Airspeeders and snow speeders, I said that.
He's watching on a time delay. That's a terrible thing.
Definitely.
We've made it, and we're within the hour mark, Paul. I can crawl up my stairs and into my bed with hot whiskey, I think might be in order tonight.
Yeah, you've done very well, mate. Stick a bit of honey in it as well. You'll do fine.
The voice is held out just enough. And I'll have to go to work because, I noticed that one of the people commenting in the comments was one of my work colleagues. So they know I've been well enough to do this. They'll be expecting me in the office in the morning. So
that's genius. Whoever you are, well done.
Yeah, and Mark said, less than an hour, what's going on? It's because next week, Mark, we're doing a bumper Andor edition of the show where we're going to be revealing the new trailer for season 2 of Andor, because it's going to get released this week. We might as well make the promise now, because it's the only way they can distract from the latest legal action that we're bringing against them. And we're going to be covering, I think, three episodes, I believe, of Andor. So we'll do episodes 3, 4, and 5. Which flow nicely together because they'll be going to the Highlands and stealing people's wages, hard-working Imperial staff's wages.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. But Mark, what you have actually missed tonight is I don't know whether Brian's on some form of medication, but basically that we're going to get sued. But it's not a problem. It's not a problem.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. We're starting a legal defence fund.
And if you do nothing else, Mark, watch the Hoth weather report. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats there to Mr. McHugh for a fantastic video supplied us from his trip out to Finsa. And once again, suggest you all do it because it is like an incredible experience just to head out there. And even just to stay in the hotel that the cast and crew stayed in is something special as well. I think it's a rare treat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to do that. Definitely.
And on that note, Paul, it's a good night from me.
And it's very much a good night from him.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at FanthaTracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow FanthaTracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.